I crossed the Gibraltar into Africa, which is
Okay,
logic.
you was in
At that
Africa.
time, all continents were open. I didn't go to the east because I had been the first journey to the east. So the next thing was Africa, of course.
And from Angola, you went to.
No, Angola, I never could go there those
Okay.
days. You know, Angola was one thing that came very, very late in my journey when there were only 4 countries left. Well, in the 80s, I decided, to have a reason. You must have a goal. For everything, you must have a goal. At that time, it was every country in the world. And so where are the countries, you find out very quickly where are the countries that you haven't been. And there were some countries in Africa and then I said, well, how do I get to Angola? There's a civil war. In Europe, you can forget about getting visas, for Angola. I mean, in Africa, nobody cares. You get killed there, you just give me the money. They want the money for the visa. They charge you $100. Tomorrow you pick up the visa. And you try to get the visa in Europe, impossible. Angola had only 2 or 3 embassies, one in Brussels, one in Lisbon, and the other one in Paris and one in London, I think. And all refused because it's civil war there. You want to visit the country, no, you can forget about it. But in Africa it was easy to get, for example. But there were that time it was only well, in the 80s, and then it took me in the 80s there were many countries left. When I said, okay, I'm going to make every country, it took 16 years to achieve the objective to get, and the last 4 they were Saint Tomé, this was Angola, and the Comoros and Seychelles and islands, and they're all expensive. The money was never there. So no, it was the journey in the beginning was simple. You stayed on land. You don't pay transport. That's it. Somehow you have to go to the Americas. Okay, so I crossed Africa and came to Cape Town. Well, I got to find a way to get to South America. So I got to South America, and I got it there. In those days, there were still passenger ships, in the 60s. And I went on a passenger ship for $200, and I had raked in the money somehow. The first time I had a little booklet printed there, partly because they're asking questions. You always repeat the question, so you must have a little card. And the card, okay, you make a photo, you make a little story, and that's 4 pages. And I gave them to people. I found somebody who printed it for free. And then I said, hey, listen, you don't need to give it to people because what happened was when I gave it to people and they had it, and they said, do I have to pay for it? I said, no. I said, hey, you can ask, yeah, but up to you. And then I ran around, to get the money for the trip to South America, I ran around shops and said, look, I'm traveling around the world, will you sponsor me? Here's a little bit about my journey. And they did, but it was slow work. You had to talk sometimes an hour, they like to listen. So I said, no, you must sell it organized. So the first time ever, I sold it in front of the post office in Cape Town. I sold that little booklet, that little, officially was the card, the introduction card. And I was surprised how much I sold. In no time I sold out. I said, that's a good idea. I had the money to go to Brazil, and from then on, the German clubs were there. Every time I went to a capital or the big city, I stayed there for 1 month. I made contact with the German community, gave a presentation in the German schools that they always had, and had a booklet printed. It became bigger and bigger all the time, 6 pages, 8 pages, and so on, and sold them. Within no time, 3 days printing, I had the blocks with me, 1 week selling. I met everybody in this the fantastic way of getting money, of meeting everybody. It turned out to be such a good idea, and I basically relied on that one. Every time there's no money in my pocket, I could always go back to a booklet, which now I don't like it so much anymore. If I find the money with Koos or somebody else, it's better. But if I have to, I go back in the street, and it's amazing how good it works. People, even in otherwise unfriendly countries, because they see something and they want to, you don't have to approach them, they approach you. And they says, and I'm convincing enough, they buy. And in Japan it was so ideal because the Japanese don't speak much English. I spoke some Japanese. So the problem in here is that I have to talk too much to people and it takes too long to sell one. But in Japan it was just, they said, konnichiwa, a few words in English they knew, and I said a few words in Japanese, and everybody was happy to buy and go on, because it's embarrassing if communication and language is not there. It was just the right way to sell one, to sell many quickly. you know, and so yeah, it was in one weekend I had one time more than $2,000 once, you know. So I piled up the money, and when I left Japan in 1971, I had money for 6 years in my pocket, saved up, spending at the rate of about 3,000 per year.